Monday. We are partway through June. It is Father's Day today, so happy Father's Day to everybody. I know most of us aren't fathers, but most of us have fathers, and some of us don't talk to our fathers, but we have other people in our lives that suit that purpose, and we can be happy for other people too. Totally fair thing. Um, and of course, we also have our up and coming father. Dun da da da! Because he's getting his mare and his baby soon. On that note, actually, I have some cool stuff to show you. I brought Gnocchi into the studio. He is starting to be clayed up, so I can show you guys what the process looks kind of like for that, because I don't think I've done that before. So it's always interesting to see how all the background things work. And I think particularly in the hobby, we have a shortage of casters and mold makers. So understanding how it all works gives you an appreciation for what those people do, as well as maybe some information for how to get started on your own so that there's less roadblocks in the way if you want to do molding and casting things yourself. I'm going to go check out our chat. We have people. We have Julia. Hello. How's it going? I'll say hi as people trickle in. So I have that. I am still shipping our unagis out, which is really exciting. I have a whole bunch of biters that are in the queue. Almost all the ones I need to finish off the entire run, which is really exciting. That will mean we will have freedom and excitement and a party soon. So soon. You unagi is the last big batch. And then once I'm through the last big batch, it's like home free. It's going to be amazing. And hopefully before Briarfest. That'd be really nice. That's kind of my goal. I know it's a little bit longer than we had all kind of hoped for, but I'm having to really baby my wrists a lot. And biters take a lot. So I actually have a acupuncturist that I'm working with now. So we've been doing some acupuncture on the tendonitis, and there's probably some arthritis going on in the joints as well. So, because why not? We'll just sprinkle some arthritis on top of it. Oh, getting older is fun. So yeah, so when I'm working on things, all of these joints, you can kind of see how they're hyper flexing. Even down here, it does weird and crazy things where it kind of goes backwards. The whole joint here floats and the whole joint here floats. They don't sit in the joints properly, so it's really easy for me to hurt things because they bend backwards. And my pinky does it automatically, and then worse when I put pressure on it. It like wants to just bend in half. Not good things. So I've spoken with this acupuncturist that I've been working with, and I have a lead on someone that can get me a prescription for like the finger splints. So that'll keep my bits from doing the bendy back thing because it'll provide a brace on either side. I have made rednecky ones out of armature wire before, so it works, but it's not ideal. So hopefully this way, I guess insurance will cover it, which will be really, really nice. Keep my fingers and toes crossed, but not hyperflexed, just crossed. And that'll help me when I'm working. So I'm trying to find workarounds now and kind of baby things, because if I push it too far, I don't know if I'm going to be able to recover them, which is not good at 37 or whatever age I am now. So yeah, yay for fun things. But all my bits and bobs bend backwards. But the acupuncture has been really interesting because we did a session on Tuesday and it made a huge difference to my anxiety level, which I wasn't expecting. That's not what we were working on, but she tried a different grounding point. And I haven't really done a lot of acupuncture before, but she tried a different grounding point in my foot and my leg. And I was like, I feel like I'm drugged. Like the crazy bouncy around anxiety in my brain ended up being way, way better. I was like, I'm just gonna sit and have breakfast and be in the moment, and my brain's not going 100 miles a second, and I don't feel that impending doom. sense that is often accompanying anxiety. So yeah, that was kind of a cool perk that I wasn't anticipating. So I'm gonna have to let her know whatever she did, keep doing that every day for the rest of my life, please. Thank you. And we have more people because I didn't get to say hi. So we have Amy. Good morning, Amy. Kim, good morning. Big party after Biters done. Yes, cake. All of the cake and ice cream and every kind of possible treat because I am so posed to just rocket off into space once she's done. It's incredible. And Jordan's been helping with the molding and the casting, and well, casting and cleaning more so than the molding part. Chris still does the majority of the molding, and I help with some of the fine-tuning bits. So molding and casting, and he's been trying to ease into helping with some of the biters a little bit, just to take some of the strain off of my insanity, because it's very frustrating. I've had like ice pack, heat pack things. I've got like anti-inflammatory arnica rub things, and it's like every time I get in a groove, I get set back again. And I can't break myself because it won't work for long term. But anyway, yeah, so that's been helping. He's been getting them cleaner than they were coming out of the molds. And then I take it the last bit, which is still a long bit and still a lot of work, but it still helps to have a little bit of relief on the joints. So good morning, Brenda. How's it going? Yeah, EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So hypermobility, and all my bits and bobs are all hyperflexible and bendy and stuff. So yeah, that's fun. And it's funny because my acupuncture lady also has EDS. So she's like, I get it. Here's a whole bunch of things you can do. Here's some things you can take. Here's some stuff you can try. Here's some people you can see. It's been amazing, actually. Really, really helpful. So that's kind of fun. I'm hypermobile type, so not thankfully the ones that are a little bit more serious. You can get ones that affect connective tissue in very serious parts of your body, and there's obviously a spectrum of how bad it is. The lady that's doing my acupuncture had a lot of degradation in her spine because her spine didn't hold together very well, and in her late 20s ended up having to have massive back surgery because everything just goes to poop, and then osteoarthritis and all the rest of it. So and she has low bone density where I have high bone density, so her bones were more easy to break apart, whereas mine are a little bit harder. But yeah, I definitely have to be careful. So yay. If you can do this, that's like the Ehlers-Danlos gang sign for the hypermobility type. Your bendiness is not supposed to be that much. So maybe get it looked into if that is you. I've noticed a lot of people in the hobby seem to have hypermobility stuff going on. And it's really interesting because it has an impact on ADHD and depression and anxiety, because your whole body's just so taxed trying to maintain itself even in a sitting position. It's pretty crazy. And then POTS, which is postural orthotachycardia syndrome. So when you stand up, your heart rate goes up, or if you're talking, your heart rate tends to go up. All sorts of fun things. Makes you lightheaded when you stand. Yay. Because you stand up and all your things do this, your vessels and stuff, which is not good because they're supposed to hold tension so that all your fluids stay in line, but they don't. Anyway, that's enough about random stuff. We have Tomi. Hi. We have a random person, no name, on YouTube. Hello, no name. Yeah, high comorbidity with all sorts of good, lovely things. But it does make sculpting in like your physical form really challenging sometimes. Hence why I'm kind of easing into some of the digital things. It makes it a little bit easier because I have the screen that I'm working on here is a big tablet, a Wacom Cintiq, and then I can just use my little digital pen and I can do all of my sculpting on there, which is nice. So on that note, what did I get into? We have stickers that came in the mail. So I have from Darren, DJ B, covered in dust. Da, 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 da. Our next in the Working Ponies series. So this would be working equitation or bullfighting. It is a Lusitano-y Spanishy thing in a very pretty color. They're like buckskin. And then from Paint Pony Studios, we're into a new theme now, which is our fantasy stuff. Or, well, not our, because I'm not part of it, but their fantasy stuff. So that is Cinderella's Carriage with the ponies. If it will sync with that. There we go. Cinderella's Carriage with the ponies. And it actually came with a little art print. So it's got a little stamp on it, signed. And that's the same artwork, which is kind of cool. We haven't done that before, or seen it, at least with stickers, which is kind of neat. I opened it up and I was like, ooh, what's this? It's always neat to say different things come up. On the note of things that arrive monthly, the Medallion Club is getting close to ready to do the thing, because that's at the end of this month, which is always one of the harder ones to do because it's right before Briarfest, and it's even harder when I'm going to Briarfest. So crazy times. I got to get it done ahead of time so that it can be shipped and everything's in order while I do all the things I need to do to get to Briarfest. So that's kind of cool. It is a very, I can't say much without giving it away. It is realistic this time. It is not fantasy, because we did fantasy last time with Dash, our little Pegasus foal, because adorable. There's a lot of personality. What else can I say? I don't want to spoil it too bad, because I know some people in here don't want spoilers, but I think you're going to really like it. And I don't want to tell you that part either. Okay, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. That's all I can tell you. And then hopefully, I know I've been saying this for a little bit, but I have the anniversary one in progress, getting so close, but I have a plan. I would show you what I have, but I have a plan on how I want to show you, because it's going to be cool what the anniversary looks like. I will do that hopefully soon. Hopefully both of them finish at the same time, because that'd be kind of cool. And then I can show you the anniversary one, because I'm not allowed to show you the one that I'm working on for just the normal month club thing, because people like surprises. But anniversaries, it's not a surprise. It is a thing. Let's see. Yeah, so the things that I was just showing off were stickers from various sticker clubs. So this one is Paint Pony Studios. You can maybe... It's backwards. Paint Pony Studios. They're on Instagram, Facebook, and they have a website. And then this is DJB. So Darren, where is it? Come on. Come on. So DEEJAYBE Sticker Club. She's got a whole bunch of stuff on her site, including Little Sonder, which is the venti version of her kicking stock horse. So very cool. We have Teresa. Hi, Teresa. Yeah, Cinderella's Carriage is pretty. It's supposed to be all fantastical fairy tale-y things, so that'll be kind of neat. Does look like Paint Pony Studios is carrying on with kind of the Barbie theme, which Stone is, well, technically Kylie Parks is more doing in tandem kind of with Stone. It's like a tag-along event. And then they'll be doing their own artisans gallery and stuff. But I believe that Paint Pony Studios will be at both locations, at Briarfest as well as at the Stone event. And then there's a lot of very, very pink Barbie things going on at Stone. And I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, I was like, I want the Barbie horses, but I don't want the Barbies. And the whole pink Barbie thing isn't really my thing, but that's okay. A lot of people get really excited for it and really like the Barbie stuff. But I have troubles getting on that pony. I was like, Barbie horses I loved, and My Little Ponies I loved. And I would play with Barbies occasionally, but it was only out of necessity, because there was requirement for somebody to interact with the horses if it wasn't just horses. And then I would torture them and cut all their hair off and all that good stuff. So yeah, I was customizing even at a young age. So there's that. Yeah, so I sent a newsletter out for everybody that talked about Gnocchi. And Gnocchi is the venti version of Tater. So this is slightly bigger than stablemate size. So that would be Briar stablemate size. That's the Fireheart. And then Gnocchi is Venti, so a little bit bigger. Venti is 1/20th scale. And we talked about this in the last stream, but for anybody that wasn't here, he's called Gnocchi because Venti is Italian for 20, hence 1/20th scale. And Venti drinks is 20 ounces, blah, 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 blah. But this is an Italian gnocchi potato dumpling in 1/20th Italian scale because I can't help myself. There will be adorable little swag to go along with them, and I will explain about how the mold stuff works. So, yeah, this is kind of rainbow barf clay. You can see it's just a artist grade plasticine. You don't even need anything too fancy as long as you don't mind the working qualities. This is plastilina, I believe. It's in rainbow colors because my husband also has ADHD and does not like just one solid color. It does make it slightly harder to focus on things, but it also makes it more interesting because as you are smoothing, it does different things to the colors, and we both kind of really enjoy that. And you can see because of the shine on the surface, and if you're paying attention, where it's rough and where it's not. So this is how you form a multi-part mold. If we were doing a 3-part mold, there would be a section in here I would fill in, and then we would pull that part out, clean it all up, and then either cast that separately. So the Olps, what they do is they'll build a temporary kind of edge along the edge of here, and then they'll pour that middle bit, and then they'll pour the top bit, which is actually a really smart way to do that, because if you do this side and then you pour this side, then trying to get your mold goo in here and clean up everything inside of there is really, really hard. It's way easier to do it when it's open face like this. But what you're basically doing is providing the one surface for all of the silicone to form to, including all of your horse details. And then when that silicone is set, you would flip it over, pull all this clay off, clean it all up, and then pour your other piece, or depending on if you have more than 2 pieces, more pieces. And you can do as many pieces as you want. You could, not that you necessarily need it with silicone, but you could do a separate piece for a complicated tail. You could do a separate piece in between the ears I've seen done so that ears cast properly. And sometimes adding pieces to the mold can be helpful because it helps keep some of your seams a little bit cleaner. But yeah. Teresa says, my Barbies were just tomboys. Yeah, that works too. I don't know. I had a Barbie hot dog stand that came to me secondhand, and I remember really enjoying that, but I really enjoyed the concept of food and cooking and stuff even back then. So I would use the My Little Ponies to cook stuff too. But the Barbies were just handed down. So it was the thing. So yeah. See if I can get it to focus on his cute little face. So normally I'd lay everything out, get everything as close as possible, and then you really have to be careful on how that clay lines up. If it's jaggedy like that, your seam's gonna suck. And if there's little bits that end up overlapping that are really thin, it's going to be really hard to get a nice clean seam. So you're best to take all of your time on this first part of the mold so that you make sure everything's as perfect as you can get it, as clean as you can get it, because you'll regret it later. You can't really fix it as easily later as you can fix it in the stage. So this is the part that takes the most time. And then once everything's nice and clean, you have a good seam all the way around in this clay. It's super tight. There's no little gaps. Like if I pull that away, if you have a little gap, all of your silicone's going to get in. Come on. Is going to get in and underneath in that groove. So you want it as tight as possible to the horse so there's no gap at all, and about as level and flat as you can. Because another thing to take into consideration is you have 2 pieces of the mold that are going to come together, and there's going to be pressure. So you're going to be either screwing plates together to hold this together, or using a strap, or using pieces of wood and elastic. There's lots of ways to do it. But pressure this way, if you have a lot of pressure this way, anything that's angled that pressure is going to want to potentially distort. So you'll get it going down and then sliding. That can cause all sorts of deformations. So you have to be careful about that. And then depending on what silicone you're choosing, some of it has more give, some of it's more hard. There's a whole bunch of factors, but I'm just going to give you kind of a basic tour while I have him because there's too much to tell you guys in a couple of minutes, but it'll at least give you some basics. So once it's all nice and cleaned, everything's cleaned up, we'll go in and put keys in. What a key is you can take really anything. So like the back of a pen, just to form kind of like a little bottom part of a Lego where everything locks in. What you're trying to do is get a key where the one part will sit into the other part and lock in, and it makes sure that all your bits are tight. You don't want it too deep. If it's too deep, they might not lock in, and then you'll end up with your mold not going into place and then resin leaking everywhere. And then a lot of times you'll do a groove all the way around the horse, and that's what will lock in kind of the shape of the horse, and then the rest of it locks in like Lego to hold it together. And then you know it's in the right place. Because if this was all smooth and you put the two smooth pieces together, you wouldn't necessarily know if something was out of place. So there's 5 million different ways to do it, but that's generally the concept. And then, like I said, you'd spray him with mold release before you, well, the whole thing with mold release. We use Lego walls, but you could use anything that you could put more clay there if you wanted to. I've done that before with a traditional mold. I've seen people use plastic. I've seen people use all sorts of different kinds of containers. And then that will form your bowl around it where you have your wall. Your silicone goes in, flip it, and then make sure you spray your silicone really, 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 really well with mold release once it's all cleaned up and ready to go on the other side, because silicone will stick to silicone and you will have the worst day pretty much ever, because your horse will be stuck in the middle of your silicone with no way to get it out other than cutting through it, and you're not going to have a very good mold if you're just cutting through. So there's that. And then if you were going in and doing, say, a clay sculpture and you didn't want a production mold, you can take this and you don't need to do the clay part. If you want just a waste mold, you can just take the horse, put it in something like a box, prop it up so it has a pour spout to it, encase it in silicone, and then go through and cut it. Something like that's easiest to do if you have a clear type silicone. So like Dragon Skin by Smooth On. We use Smooth On products basically exclusively because it's what I started with. It's easier, they're good quality. But yeah, that's kind of the rundown on how this works. Once we have so this is going into a pressure pot, not into the rotocaster. If we're putting it in a pressure pot, then once this comes out, we'll probably end up casting him like this. So he'll go into a pressure pot like this, and then we'll end up putting sprues to let all the air out. He'll probably be a little bit tilted. So you want if you think about where air is going to rise and get trapped, it might want to get trapped in his belly. It'll want to get trapped in his feet, because as you're pouring into, say, his chest here, it'll push all the air out the tail, the legs, the nose, the ears, and then you can soft set ears by putting resin in there just to make sure they form. But he'll get these little channels that'll go all the way up to the top. So when you pour resin in, all that air comes up at the same time. That's how you know it's full. And then you'll get little ponies. And it's kind of a thing you have to dial in, because as you play with it, you'll find air gets stuck in certain places, but not in others. So it's kind of just managing each individual horse, and no horse will be 100% the same as another one. They all have their little particularities. So yeah, that's kind of a quick rundown. We would do a mold for a rotocast horse fairly similarly to how you would do that. She's obviously a little bit more complicated because she goes in all the directions. She is a 1, 2, 3, 4-part mold. Probably could have been more, but yeah, 4-part for her. And same kind of idea. You clay up the one initial side that you're going to pour the mold into. And then from there, leaving clay in the sections for all the other pieces. And then check out Jen and Tom's page on Facebook. So Jolt Studios, Jolt. see if I can pull it up here actually. Jolt Studios. I'll show you guys what I am talking about because that'll be easier. Da, 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 da. All right, so this is their claying up process. So you can see here, let's see if I can make it smaller. Same kind of idea. This is another pour mold. So, or nope, this will be rotocast. So you can see here that there is a spot for where the pour hole will be. So that will be carved out later, or they'll fit it later. These are all the keys, all these little dots, and that's where it locks in. You can see the line around the outside of the horse that provides kind of the locking feature just around to make sure the seam around the whole horse is nice. You can see it's not super deep so that you don't get things hung up, because as soon as you get something hung up and you're trying to get this into that hole and it locks in there, then you're going to get bulges and things distorting. It's its whole art form unto itself. Let's see if I can find what is going on here. There we go. Tagged photos. No, I just want their normal photos. This is another example. So because of the turn to the head, you can see the shape of the mold's a little bit different. Depending on your silicone properties, it's a little bit different. There's Sonder. So that's a kicking one by Darren. You can get silicones that you can basically flip inside out if you do a brush mold. So you could do something a little bit more complicated. Most people in the hobby do block molds. This is Sigurd by Kelly Seeley. So that is the silicone. So this is before you pour the other side, where you're covering the whole thing really well with mold release. That's kind of what's shiny there. It's like a wax-based release. And then that's the silicone, is the tealy, bluey stuff. And you can see where they would be putting in their pour spout. They have great stuff on their page. Maggie also does. This is kind of the same thing. So similar stage to Gnocchi's in. They're putting all of their plasticine down. They just like using yellow. It's a little bit easier to see, but a little bit more boring. So the rainbow is kind of fun. We'll eventually end up with like brown snot, but it's fine. Let's see where I can find them doing the middle piece. So you can see this shows the little nubblies really well. For the keys, come on, where is that middle piece? Here we go. So this is pouring the middle piece for the miniature Stormwatch. I believe that's the venti one, so that would be Whirlwind. They provided a clay wall, and then you can see the Lego box around the outside. The clay wall is blocking off what they don't want this particular middle piece to have. So they've covered one side of the leg. They've covered and stopped the silicone from going towards the body. You could pour all of this, but what's happening here is they're trying to get in between those legs. So this side of it facing us right now would be all of this side of the horse, including these legs. So his whole body on these sides. This would be in between all of his legs and his tail, and his chest. And then the other side, which is the yellow right here, behind all of this, that'll be his whole right side. It's its own thing to wrap your brain around when it comes to the physics of it. There's a lot of moving parts. And then all of these white pieces are them putting keys in, because you've poured this flat. It's going to want to be flat and smooth. You need keys in it. So what they're doing is waiting until it's a little bit more solid, because the rubber will the silicone will slowly set. And then you put your pre-made little keys in there. And then when you go to pour your other side of this, they'll pull all these white pieces out. So they'll have their keys. They'll pull this mold wall out here on his other side of his legs, and then pour the whole left side. Of course, mold releasing really well. And then they'll flip it over, pull all the clay off that right side, and pour that after mold releasing it really well. So yeah, There's a lot to the process. I definitely recommend checking out Maggie Bennett's page. Here's another one where they're pouring that middle piece. This is them blocking out that left side of the leg, but because this leg is staggered, they're not needing to do it all the way through like they did with Whirlwind. They're just bringing it down to here, and covering the inside of that other leg. So a lot of moving parts, but it's really, really interesting. So you can see here, so it's covering to here. So you're covering that inside of this leg, his whole belly, and then the inside of those front legs. Because if you were to put a whole piece here, you could put a cut there to open it. It's not as efficient, and your seam's going to be kind of wonky, but you could do it. There's many, many ways to skin a cat. So here's actually a really good one. That's the before. The clay is all in there, covering that left side of the legs. And then you can see when they pull it off, you can see all the keys there. You can see the left side of those legs exposed. They'll mold release it all here really well, and then pour that whole other side of the horse. So it's very, very cool. It's definitely an interesting way to do things. Everybody has their own techniques on how they do it, where they place their seams. That depends on each sculpture. It's not A plus B equals C. There's a lot of other factors, but that at least gives you an idea of what the process looks like. Eli, hi Eli, saying potato, flour, egg, gnocchi. Ta-da! Or adorable little pony gnocchi. Ta-da! Yeah, super cool. Let's see. Mallory saying I need a whole bunch of gnocchis. Julia's saying, holy crap, this is intense. That's like the surface level. This is why mold makers are so special, and we need to really treasure them, because there's a lot to it, and it's really hard to wrap your brain around all the differences, and what's required between a pressure pot and a rotocaster and making medallions. And then it depends on your humidity in your location. It depends. There's a whole bunch of factors. It's a lot. But anyway, that's why you're never going to get consistent quality between your casters, because everybody's doing things a little bit differently. Seams will be in different places. Some people, like me, obsessively clean the castings to the point where there's almost no prep left in them, because I have a hard time sending things out with no prep, and I know it's hard to find preppers nowadays. But yeah, there's so much to it. Oh, and there's no standard way of doing any of it. Even between the people that are casting in the hobby now, everybody has a little bit of a different flavor as to how they do it, even what products they're using, the techniques they're using to do specific kinds of molds. MVS had different things that they would use depending on what they were doing. So all over the board. But that at least gives you a concept of how that all works. So hopefully it makes sense. If you have questions, ask me in the chat. Julia, can I say how much I appreciate all the work that goes into each casting? It's a lot of work, but it's fun. It's kind of, if you're sciencey brained, it is kind of interesting to see how it all works, and then to try and make it better with each one. I know Jen and Tom Ulp spend a lot of time dialing everything in and trying to get the most perfect casting that they can, because then cleanup's easy for them. It's easier for everybody else, and it kind of works all the way down the line. So it's kind of neat. Andrew's asking, glad there are people doing all the fiddly sculpting, molding, casting work, and I can just make them look pretty. It's its own art form. I don't think we appreciate it in the hobby as much as we should, because we get really into the sculpting and the customizing and the painting and the tack making and the diorama making, but not so much the how you even get to the initial part, right? And then with 3D printers, it gets a little bit more complicated, because there's that whole rabbit hole of how that works. But I don't know. It's kind of cool. I hope you guys think it's not boring. Amy says, my crap top is not handling things well today. I must bow out. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll see you next week. You can always go back and watch these too. So I've always wondered why the molds had bubbles in the clay. Yeah, so they're for keys. So it's like Lego. You have the two pieces of Lego that click into each other, and that's how that works, is you have A plus B fitting into C, and it hopefully should hold everything in place tightly. But it is really for the idea of keeping all of your seams and everything in alignment so it's not distorted and your seams are nice. And if you did a really good job in that initial clay, you're going to have really nice seams 90% of the time. Sometimes there's some fudge factor, but it's usually best to draw on your seams where you want them so that you know exactly where your clay goes, because it's really easy to get it on a tiny little edge that you don't want it. Because as close to 90 degrees as you can is the best. That's going to give you your cleanest seam. If you start doing little angles, this is going to get really challenging to pour and keep proper, and your seam's not going to be quite as clean. So there's a lot to it. If you're interested, there are mold maker groups on Facebook. There's lots of different tutorials that I've seen on YouTube for people that are doing different molding and casting in different ways. You can do brush on. I've seen people do brush on molds. So instead of doing a block like this, you're taking the silicone and brushing it on layers and forming. You're still providing some base to do that seam on, and you're just thickening that seam so that you can cut through it, and then doing a hard shell over top. Keeps your molds lighter, uses less silicone, is a little bit more complicated, but then you could do really intricate things where you could just pull the mold off. A lot of people do it for busts, so they'll do the whole face and they have just one seam at the back, and then they can pull it all inside out and pull it off, as long as it's a reasonably simple structure without too many undercuts and things. Her main would be not good. No bueno. Don't do that. Let's see. Julie said, I think I'd love learning to do casting, except there are none local. Yeah, you could play with the idea of looking at different YouTube tutorials and seeing what everybody's doing. And it's really hard for casters in the hobby because we've had people really interested in starting, and you get the question of, okay, teach me everything. And it's really hard to do that because there's so much to know, but there's so many resources on YouTube and online that you can find most of it there. And then it's a lot of time to dedicate to teach somebody all the things. It's something that you kind of have to take the initiative to learn a little bit of how to do it, and then ask questions to the casters that are doing it so that they can help you, and it's not going to take weeks of their time to try and show you all the things. And as you've seen just with that little bit, it's very complicated sometimes to just get into the nitty-gritty, and each individual sculpture is going to be different, so it's not as easy to explain as you would think. But good place to start, online. Smooth On has a lot of YouTube tutorials, and they're a great resource for even just getting started. Medallions are really easy because usually it's just a one piece. I would take a medallion, I would stick it on a tile, I would build the mold walls, and then you pour the silicone in. There's no claying up generally needed because most medallions don't need 2 parts or more. So there's that. I think all Minx medallions end up with 2 parts because she casts the back because she's got all her fiddly little bits, which is not an efficient necessarily way to do it. It is a very expensive and time-consuming way to do it, but however you want to do that. Yeah, so that's kind of the basics of how that works, to give you an idea, since it's not often that I have something that's in clay to show you. Let's see what else I got going on here. So I did put up the first of the, and this is just a roughed out, not fully clean dude, of the Hasselbacks for sale. So you can see it's really hard with the light. There we go. This is the long banded tater. So he is currently up for time payment lottery right now. So you can enter your name in to be drawn for a time payment spot. This will be one of 2 time payment lotteries for him. He's going to look so cool if you do like a variegation in the hair, which we talked about as a plant turn, but it works. And then long loose tail. Same tater all around. Gelding. He'll have a breather hole in there eventually. They don't get them right off the bat. That's where we pour into on him. So if you see a little bit of a spot of slightly not totally white, on any part of the horse. That is from my super white epoxy that I fill in so that you guys have less prep to do. But we pour in through the butt because it's a little bit easier on the rotocasts than trying to pour in through the belly, which is traditionally where they would be poured in through. So yeah, if you're interested in him on time payments, we're doing the draw tomorrow, Monday. So today's the last day to enter for time payments. All that's required initially is a $75 deposit, and then you have 6 months to pay the balance. $385 pretty much everywhere unless you're international or Canadian. We have to add GST. Yeah. So performance fancy potato. I'm going to show you the swag he comes with. So all of the traditional taters come with their certificate. They all have their own different saying. It'll tell you which version it is. So this one's au gratin, with his picture right there. And then on the back, and then I sign here for you guys, so they're all hand signed. Then this is it's glossy. This is gonna be hard. This is the sticker that comes with him. That's just that there. Nope. Maybe. It is a Bay Snowflake Appaloosa design that'll come as a glossy sticker with him. So you can kind of see some of the potential for what the mane might look like with all the variation in tones. You look so cute. Definitely need Bay Snowflake Appaloosa. That's going to look really, really neat. And then he has a little bit of a difference to his I Heart Tater sticker because they all come with an I Heart Tater sticker. His is glitter, which is epic. There's also technically glitter in the heart, but it doesn't show as much as it does in the body. His body's pretty disco, but he is also a fancy tater. So it says I Heart Fancy Taters. So you can stick these. They are outdoor friendly. They eventually will wear off. You could put it on a vehicle. You could put it on a mug. Like any vinyl sticker, it'll be, unless you're going to cover it in epoxy, hand wash only, that sort of thing. But yeah, and then coffee crisps and other tasty goodies go in the boxes. And a recipe for au gratin potatoes. There were recipes that went out with Hasselback, and there'll be one that goes out with gnocchi, which will probably be a sweet potato gnocchi, which we had, and it was delicious when my in-laws were here. And then Cowboy Taters had a Cowboy Tater recipe, which is kind of fun. But yeah, I'm going to block people that are being trolls in chat. Thankfully, just on the YouTube side. But yeah, disco taters are fun. Okay, you're blocking turds on YouTube. If you come in on YouTube or in Facebook and you decide to be obnoxious, you will get blocked in chat. So just so you are aware. So yeah, that's swag. Disco is fun. What else do I got going on? I will have information on what Gnocchi will end up being for pricing and edition and all the rest of it. But that will come in a minute just because I want to get him molded and cast and kind of get a feel for how that's going to go first. Same kind of idea. It'll be some time payment options and then ready to ship batches. As much as I can keep to ready to ship batches, I'm going to do that because it will take me, I think it's better for both sides of the equation, really. And then it'll take me a little bit to recover from the whole biter trauma, as you guys will understand at this point. So au gratin is the long banded guy. So this guy, our fancy tater, that is au gratin because he's fancy. Au gratin. And this one's gnocchi because he's a little potato dumpling. So that's the thing. Let's see. We don't feed trolls around here. I know, you'd think they would learn, but it's YouTube people scrolling to see who's live and just friggin' causing trouble in chat. So, and you guys on Facebook can't see it because it's on YouTube only. But yeah, I'll have to go deal with people later. But anyways, on that note, next Saturday will be the first paid in full Au Gratin Taters batch. That will be, I'm going to do an early access for club members. That'll happen beforehand. And then I'll email everybody about what that looks like. Probably early this week, so everybody has a heads up. And then timing for everything, I'll send that out to everybody as well, so you guys will have a heads up as to what that's going to look like. It'll probably be similar to how I've done the last ones, because that seems to work the best, where it's the form and then you can fill that out to claim your spot. Then I'll send the invoice and then we go from there. I might try and load a couple into the store and see if that works. It's not, if you've had success checking out in the store before, then it's fine. But I know some people have had issues with payments through the Wix store. I'm trying to work on how to fix that. PayPal is linking well, I guess, with Wix, and Wix is being funky. And I guess they're increasing their fees for Amex. So if you're using an Amex, it's going to be a little bit more. I don't know how PayPal does that. I know most places charge more for Amex just because their fee structure is higher anyways. So yeah, there's that. Oh, we have somebody on YouTube that isn't a troll. Hi. There is just one causing trouble. It's not everybody on YouTube. I'm not branding you all with the same brush. But yeah, there's definitely people that hop onto streams and cause trouble. But yeah, that is pretty much all of it. I will show you something that I haven't decided on 100% how I'm going to release it. It'll probably be a small run, limited, and might be at Briarfest with some reserved for online after or before. Not sure. Trying to figure out what the plan is. Because I know a lot of you have asked for really small things. And I had people asking why I wasn't doing stablemate size in Gnocchi, and I haven't 100% ruled that out necessarily. Might have to be 3D printed, but Annie Elf, hi Annie Elf. I know that not everybody on YouTube's a troll. It's okay. We just don't feed trolls, and we remove them from the comments. But if you like really, really tiny things, there might be maybe micro-y things in a limited run that I will have available. 3D printed, because I'm not casting these small. And I don't have a pewter caster, and pewter is hit or miss for me. Every medium has its own positives and negatives, but he is printed a little bit larger than Little Bucker was with more substantial legs. And that means that it'll be a little bit more reasonable to paint, and for durability reasons. I haven't gone in and done as well all the research R&D stuff that I'm looking to do to make sure that they're as durable as possible, but he's pretty durable. He's also really cute, super tiny. So not Raven's head size, but we're going Raven's palm size. And very small. But you can see his legs are reasonably durable. Come on. And I'll probably thicken up the ears maybe a touch more, but they seem to be pretty resilient in the size. They're not too small here. So, and then he has all his little feeties. Little feety details. So yeah, that's a thing. And because you guys are following on the stream and you stay this long, you get the extra special treat. Next stream, maybe I'll have the anniversary medallion done and I can show you guys. I will not be able to show you peaks of the let's see, what are we looking at for date? Yeah, I won't be able to show you peaks yet of the Medallion Club medallion, but soon, very soon. And then we'll see what happens when we go into Briarfest. I might have things and stuff. But I will work all that out later. Yeah, so in the meantime, everybody's like, oh my God, little guys. They're so small. Small just makes things so cute. So yeah, on that note, and then if you wanted to see the comparison of the two, boop. Big tater, little tater. These might be the little tots because we're hash browns. Like the little tiny breakfast hash browns that are just the little nubblins. He's a nublin. Little nublin. So yeah, I guess on that note, I will let you guys do your thing. Continue on with your Sunday. Thank you for coming and saying hi. Trying to think of what else crazy was going on, but I think that's it. Briar has the website down. They're updating it. Hopefully we'll get exciting things happening and it'll be a better system for Briarfest because I know that's been frustrating for people. I'm going to carry on. I've got a whole bunch of boxes to send out today, including a whole bunch of biters and taters. There are Hasselback taters, which is the banged guy. He is available on my website, ready to ship. So you just fill out the form to order. If you're looking to order the au gratin au gratin and put in for the time payments. I'm going to pull that up actually so you guys can see it, just so, because there's two forms on the website, so this way we'll let you see it properly. Oop, it did better there. Okay, so this is the website on the tater page, so if you want to find it, it's just here. And tater, or the banner at the beginning on the homepage. You can click on au gratin there, and it'll go right to the time payment area. Fill this out, click enter, and it'll send it in. So this is for au gratin, which is the long banded. And then if you want one of the, this is for Hasselback. This is the first paid in full batch. I know it's confusing with the two forms. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make it confusing. But we still have some of the Hasselbacks, so they're both available. But yeah, that's a thing. So if you have any questions, let me know. Send me an email, and I will get hard back to work at all the secret things that I'm working on, and all the biters and all the taters, and getting the paid in full ones all boxed up and ready to go for next Saturday. And I will send out an email for everybody for times for early access, the regular batch. And we will see you next Sunday for more fun and excitement. And if you have other topics like the mold making or customizing or sculpting or other things you want me to talk about, you can always send me an email, post it in the chat, however you want to do that. And I will try and cover things because it's kind of fun to do question and answer or do like a topic that people don't cover very often. So yeah, we'll do that. All right. I will see you guys next Sunday. Don't feed any of the trolls. They are still on a diet and will forever be on a diet. If you feed into that energy, you're just going to get more of it back. That's all I want is the attention. Don't give it to them. We don't do like the mean girl thing where if you just ignore them, then they freak out, which is kind of entertaining in and of itself. But don't feed trolls. All right, I'll see you next Sunday. Love you all. Bye.